Capricorn. God is moving pieces in your favor. Number 5 will shock you. Capricorn, I need you to stop everything you're doing right now. Because what I'm about to reveal will change your entire understanding of why you've struggled so hard for so long. You've been climbing this mountain alone, haven't you? Carrying weight that would crush most people. Building empires with your bare hands while everyone else sleeps. Sacrificing, grinding, pushing through pain that you don't even talk about, because who would understand? You've convinced yourself that this is just your burden to bear, that success only comes through suffering, that rest is for people who didn't have to fight like you did. But here's what you haven't seen. While you've been breaking your back trying to make things happen, God has been moving pieces on a chessboard you didn't even know existed. Divine orchestration has been working behind the scenes of your struggle, aligning circumstances, shifting timelines, and preparing breakthroughs that have nothing to do with your hustle and everything to do with His timing. In this video, I'm going to expose 5 supernatural movements happening in your life right now. 5 ways the universe is conspiring in your favor while you've been too exhausted to notice. And when we reach number 5, Capricorn, everything you thought you knew about your timeline is about to be shattered. What you thought would take 5 more years. It's happening now. But before we dive deep into these revelations that will restore your faith, hit that subscribe button and drop a like. Because this message is about to prove that your persistence wasn't in vain. It was preparation for something magnificent. Let's begin your breakthrough. Capricorn, let's start with the truth that's probably terrifying you right now. Everything you built with your bare hands, every structure you created through sheer willpower and relentless discipline, every achievement you earned by refusing to quit, it's crumbling. Or maybe it's already fallen, and you're standing in the rubble, wondering if God has abandoned you. But here's what you can't see from ground level. God isn't tearing down your tower to punish you. He's demolishing it because the foundation was never meant to hold what He's about to build. You built that tower on survival, on proving yourself, on the belief that if you just worked hard enough, climbed high enough, achieved enough, you'd finally be safe, finally be worthy, finally be enough. You poured your blood into stones, thinking you were building a castle, when really, you were building a prison. Every brick was laid with fear, fear of being vulnerable, fear of depending on anyone, fear of what would happen if you stopped moving even for a second. You built walls so high that nobody could hurt you, but those same walls kept out every blessing trying to reach you. Can you feel it now? The way that tower never actually made you feel secure? The way no matter how high you climbed, there was always another level, always more to prove, always this gnawing emptiness that whispered it's still not enough. God is moving the first piece, demolition. And yes, it feels like death. It feels like everything you sacrificed for, everything you bled for, is being taken away for no reason. But demolition isn't destruction, it's preparation. You can't build a palace on a foundation of fear. You can't receive abundance through walls designed to keep everything out. This is the divine mercy you didn't ask for, but desperately needed. The tower had to fall so you could finally see that your worth was never in what you built. It was always in who you are. The climb was never the point. You were always enough before you took the first step. God is clearing the ground. And what He's about to build on the space where your fear tower stood will be so magnificent, so aligned with your true purpose, that you'll thank Him for every brick He knocked down. The question is, can you surrender the rubble? Can you stop trying to rebuild the same prison with the same stones? Can you trust that divine architecture is infinitely superior to your survival blueprints? This demolition is your first miracle. The breaking is the beginning. You've been alone for so long, haven't you, Capricorn? Not just physically, though that's part of it, but alone in a deeper, more devastating way. Alone in your struggle. Alone in your responsibility, alone in the knowledge that nobody truly understands the weight you carry. You've made peace with it, or at least you've told yourself you have. You've convinced yourself that independence is strength, that needing no one is power, that your ability to endure isolation is what makes you exceptional. But late at night, when the achievements feel hollow and the silence becomes deafening, you know the truth. You're not choosing solitude. You're terrified of connection. Here's the second piece God is moving. He's not ending your aloneness by bringing you people. He's transforming the nature of your solitude itself. All this time, your loneliness has been around, a constant reminder that you're unworthy of companionship, that you're too damaged or too difficult or too much work for anyone to truly choose you. Your isolation has been a punishment you inflict on yourself, a prison where you serve time for crimes you can't even name. But God is alchemizing that wound into something sacred. He's turning your loneliness into a womb where something precious is being formed. The solitude that felt like abandonment is actually divine preparation. You weren't being excluded from life. You were being sequestered for transformation. Do you understand what this means? Every night you cried yourself to sleep feeling forgotten. God was right there, holding space for the person you were becoming. Every moment you felt invisible, you were actually being hidden, protected from connections that would have derailed your purpose, shielded from people who would have loved the mask but rejected the truth. Your loneliness wasn't because you're unlovable. It was because you were incubating something so valuable that it required complete protection. You were in a chrysalis, and chrysalises are meant to be dark, enclosed, and solitary. But here's where the divine movement becomes visible. The cocoon is splitting open. The sacred solitude that once felt like death is revealing itself as the birthplace of your most authentic self. You're not emerging as the person who learned to survive alone. You're emerging as the person who discovered that being alone with God is the only companionship you ever truly needed. And now, from this place of sacred wholeness, you're finally ready for the connections you've always deserved. Not because you need them to complete you, but because you're so complete that you can finally share yourself without losing yourself. The loneliness is ending, Capricorn, but not because someone is coming to save you, because you've been saved already, and now you're ready to be truly seen. Here's the piece of divine movement that's going to make you uncomfortable, Capricorn. God is restoring your sense of worthiness, and He's not waiting for you to believe you deserve it first. Your entire life has been a negotiation with worthiness, hasn't it? A constant calculation of whether you've done enough, achieved enough, sacrificed enough to finally be worthy of rest, of love, of good things happening to you. You've treated worthiness like something you have to earn through suffering, like a degree you'll receive after accumulating enough credits of pain. But here's what's shattering your entire paradigm. Worthiness isn't earned. It never was. And God is moving this piece, the restoration of your inherent value, whether you're ready or not. You've been operating from a devastating lie, that you're fundamentally flawed, that something about you is wrong at the core, that if people really knew you, the messy, struggling, sometimes bitter you, they'd confirm what you've always suspected, that you're not enough. So you've built this elaborate performance, haven't you? The capable one, the strong one, the one who has it all together. The one who doesn't need help. The one whose worthiness is proven by their productivity, their achievements, their ability to endure what would break others. But God is dismantling this performance, not by exposing your weaknesses to humiliate you, by revealing that your weaknesses were never the problem. The lie was the problem. The belief that you had to earn the love that was always freely available was the problem. Can you feel it happening? The way opportunities are showing up that you didn't hustle for? The way people are choosing you even when you're not performing? The way blessings are arriving even though you haven't deserved them yet by your own impossible standards? This is God's declaration. Your worthiness is not up for debate. It's not contingent on your performance. It's not something you achieve. It's something you accept. And He's forcing you to accept it by giving you things you haven't earned, by loving you before you've perfected yourself, by moving mountains on your behalf while you're still in the valley doubting whether you deserve the view from the top. This restoration of worthiness is violent to your ego because your ego has convinced you that your value lies in your struggle, that you're special because you can endure, that your identity is built on being the one who sacrifices. But God is saying, I don't need you to be a martyr. I need you to be whole. And your wholeness begins with accepting that you were never broken in the first place. Before we move to Revelations 4 and 5, and trust me, What's coming will completely transform how you see your entire journey. I need to hear from you. Capricorn, have you felt this? This constant fight to prove your worthiness? This loneliness disguised as strength? This demolition of everything you built? Drop a comment right now and tell me which of these 3 movements hit you the hardest. Let's create a space where Capricorns can finally be honest about what's really happening inside. Your story could be the permission someone else needs to finally surrender. Now we come to the movement that will make everything make sense, Capricorn. Every betrayal, every loss, every time you were overlooked or undervalued or left to figure it out alone, it wasn't random. It wasn't punishment. It was preparation. God has been converting your pain into purpose, and the alchemy is almost complete. You've carried suffering that would have destroyed other people. You've endured losses that should have made you bitter, betrayals that should have made you hard, disappointments that should have made you cynical. And somehow, against all odds, you're still here, still standing, still believing that maybe, just maybe, there's a reason for all of it. There is. And the reason is this. Your pain is the raw material for your purpose. Every wound has been teaching you empathy for the wounded. Every failure has been showing you how to help others rise. Every moment of isolation has been training you to be a safe place for the lonely. Every time you had to save yourself, you were learning how to show others they can save themselves too. But here's where the divine movement gets specific. God isn't just making your pain meaningful in some abstract, philosophical way. He's literally positioning you to meet the exact people whose lives will be transformed by your specific story. The client who needs exactly your journey to believe they can survive theirs. The stranger who will stumble upon your words at their darkest moment and choose to stay alive. The child who will watch how you rebuild and learn that falling apart isn't the end. The community that's been waiting for someone who speaks the language of survival to guide them home. Your pain is being weaponized, not against you, but for you. Every scar is becoming a credential. Every breakdown is becoming a breakthrough someone else needs to witness. Every time you wanted to quit, but didn't, is becoming the evidence that quitting isn't necessary. Can you see it now? The pattern emerging from the chaos? The way every piece of your shattered story is actually a piece of a mosaic that will help multitudes see themselves more clearly? This is why the pain had to be so specific, so personal, so devastating. Because generic wisdom helps no one. But your particular flavor of suffering, that specific cocktail of disappointments and losses and betrayals unique to your journey, is going to save someone who needed exactly that testimony. God has been converting your pain into purpose, and the return on investment is about to be staggering. You didn't suffer for nothing. You suffered for them, for the people who need to know that someone else made it through their exact hell and came out believing in heaven again. Your purpose isn't separate from your pain. Your purpose is the redemption of your pain. And that redemption is happening now. And now, Capricorn, we arrive at the 5th piece. God is moving in your favor. The one that will shock you. The one that defies everything you know about how life works, about how long things take, about the realistic pace of healing and success and transformation. God is rewriting your timeline. And what should have taken years is about to happen in moments. You've been operating under the assumption that because you've suffered long, you'll heal slowly. That because you've struggled hard, success will come gradually. That because you've been overlooked for so long, recognition will be incremental. You've accepted a timeline of slow progress because that's what you've always known. Grinding, crawling, earning every inch of ground. But here's what's about to shatter your entire paradigm. Divine timing doesn't follow your mathematical projections. Miracles don't respect your realistic expectations. And God doesn't heal on the schedule you've resigned yourself to. The piece He's moving right now is this: acceleration, supernatural speed. The collapse of the time you thought you needed. Things you've been praying for, working toward, hoping for years, maybe decades, are about to manifest so quickly it will disorient you. The relationship you thought would take years to heal will shift in a conversation. The financial breakthrough you thought required 5 more years of grinding will arrive in a deal that seems to fall from the sky. The recognition you thought you'd have to wait for retirement to receive will come while you're still young enough to fully enjoy it. Why now? Why this acceleration after so much waiting? Because you're finally ready. Not ready in the way you thought, perfectly healed, completely sorted, entirely figured out. You're ready because you've surrendered the illusion of control. You're ready because you've stopped trying to orchestrate outcomes and started trusting divine choreography. You're ready because the demolition of your tower, the transformation of your loneliness, the restoration of your worthiness, and the conversion of your pain have created the exact internal conditions necessary to handle what's coming. Can you feel it? That sense of something building, something massive moving beneath the surface of your life, something that's about to break through in ways you can't manufacture or manipulate. This is the shocking truth, Capricorn. You've been in a divine waiting room, and your name just got called. The delays weren't denial, they were preparation. And now that the preparation is complete, the acceleration is unstoppable. What took your ancestors generations to achieve, you'll accomplish in months. What took your peers years to overcome, you'll transcend in weeks. Not because you're special, but because God's timing is finally aligned with your readiness. And when those two forces converge, physics bends. The miracles aren't coming slowly anymore. They're coming in rapid succession, one after another. So fast that you'll barely have time to process one before the next one hits. This is your season of suddenly. After years of gradually, painfully, barely, suddenly is here. Get ready, Capricorn. Your timeline just got rewritten, and the life you thought was 5 years away is arriving now. So here we stand, Capricorn, at the summit of understanding. Can you see it now? Can you see how every piece God has been moving, every demolition, every transformation, every restoration, every conversion, every acceleration, has been moving toward this moment? This moment when you finally understand that you were never climbing alone. When you realize that the mountain wasn't a test of your strength, it was a revelation of His faithfulness. When you see that every time you thought you were being broken, you were actually being broken open to receive something too big to fit through the narrow door of who you used to be. This is the paradox at the center of your journey. You're the sign of the mountain goat, the climber, the achiever, the one who makes it happen through sheer force of will. But your ultimate breakthrough comes not from climbing harder, but from finally understanding that the mountain was never yours to conquer. It was yours to surrender on. All that strength, all that endurance, all that relentless discipline, it wasn't building your worthiness. It was preparing you to handle the magnitude of what you're worthy of. The world sees you and sees competence, capability, control. But God sees you and sees a warrior who's been fighting the wrong battle. You've been fighting for survival when you were always meant for abundance. Fighting for worthiness when you were always beloved. Fighting to prove yourself when you were always chosen. And now, in this sacred moment of divine movement, you're being given a choice. Will you keep fighting? Keep climbing? Keep trying to earn what's already yours? Or will you finally, let yourself be carried by the very hands that have been catching you every time you fell? This is your revolution, Capricorn. Not the one where you reach the top through your own power, but the one where you discover that you are always at the top in God's eyes. And the only thing standing between you and your promised land was your refusal to believe that it could really be this good. The pieces are moving. The timeline is accelerating. The miracles are manifesting. And you, exhausted, uncertain, maybe even cynical, you are about to witness what happens when heaven decides enough is enough and intervenes on behalf of someone who's been faithful when it felt impossible to believe. Your story isn't over, Capricorn. It's just beginning. And the chapter you're about to write will be so beautiful, so redemptive, so undeniably divine, that everyone who watches will know God is real, and He keeps His promises. If you've made it to this moment in the video, you're not here by accident. Something in you knew you needed to hear this. Something in you was ready to stop carrying the weight alone and finally let God move the pieces. So I want to leave you with this. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be strong enough to climb the rest of the way. You don't have to earn what's already been purchased for you through a love so relentless that it pursued you even when you were running from it. You just have to trust. Trust that the demolition is mercy. Trust that the loneliness was sacred. Trust that your worthiness was never in question. Trust that your pain is being converted into someone else's freedom. Trust that the timeline is accelerating because you're finally ready for everything you've been denying yourself. God is moving pieces in your favor, not because you've done everything right, but because He's a good Father who honors persistence even when it's wrapped in doubt, who sees faithfulness even when it looks like stubbornness, who recognizes surrender even when it comes reluctantly. You've been climbing so long, Capricorn. Isn't it time to let yourself be lifted? Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 divine movements did you need to hear most? Have you felt this shift happening in your life? Are you ready to finally trust that God is moving pieces you can't see? Drop a comment below and share your truth. Your testimony might be exactly what another Capricorn needs to keep believing. If this message touched your soul, share it with the Capricorn in your life who's still trying to do it all alone. Hit that subscribe button so we can continue this journey of understanding divine timing together. And remember, your breakthrough isn't coming because you finally got strong enough. It's coming because God finally showed you that His strength was available all along. Thank you for trusting me with your time and your heart. Until next time, may you have the courage to surrender the weight you were never meant to carry alone. You're not building the tower anymore, Capricorn. You're learning to live in the palace God's been building for you all along. And that palace? It's ready. The door is open. All you have to do is walk in.